Meta, better known as Facebook and Instagram, are loosening some hate speech restrictions because of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. So I will get to these details, I will get to my thoughts on this, and I'll also show you Facebook's hate speech rules and what clearly, in my opinion, makes absolutely no sense. But first, here's what they have detailed. So this from Axios. The policy change will allow users in Armenia, Azerbaijan, Estonia, Georgia, Hungary, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Romania, Russia, Slovakia, and Ukraine to issue calls for violence against Russian soldiers, Reuters first reported Thursday. Users in those regions will also be allowed to use language targeting Russians in posts that clearly denote the context of the invasion. Calls for the deaths of Russian President Vladimir Putin or Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko will be permitted unless the posts include other targets or two indicators of credibility, such as location, according to internal emails obtained by Reuters. All right, so first up, it's still unclear whether or not they will allow the targeting of simply Russians. Now, they say here, Russians in posts that clearly denote the context of the invasion, but what if you are targeting just the Russian people or Russian civilians while discussing the invasion? Is that okay? Because that shouldn't be okay. But if it's just about Russian soldiers, let me get to my thoughts on this, because I don't understand how military personnel is included under hate speech. So I'll get to more on that in a second here. First, I just want to show you how wacky and inconsistent this is. So emails also showed that Meta will allow praise of the Ukrainian far-right Azov Battalion, which is normally prohibited. The Azov Battalion isn't just far-right, they are neo-Nazis. So Facebook is allowing hate speech directed towards Russian military, but also allowing praise of neo-Nazis. Just to show you how, wildly inconsistent this all is. So the first big issue, before I get to anything else here, in their hate speech rules, the first big issue is that there is absolutely no consistency here from Facebook. If you're going to allow this, then you should also allow so-called hate speech directed towards Israeli military attacking Palestinians, or towards Saudi military attacking people in Yemen, or towards American military for their ongoing countless invasions. So you can't simply pick and choose which hate speech, what you call hate speech, is okay for certain invasions and which isn't. So that's the first issue here. And also just to point out, the ongoing hypocrisy on that point. This is one example, but there's countless examples like this, where Mohammed here, who's a well-known figure on Twitter, tweeted out, "I got banned for hate speech on Facebook in 2016 for calling Israel an apartheid state." That's absurd, which, it is now clear, if it wasn't already clear back then, but it's now more publicly clear that yes, Israel is committing apartheid against Palestinians. Amnesty International came out recently with that statement. Human Rights Watch came out with that statement. B'Tselem, an Israel-based human rights organization, also is saying that Israel is committing apartheid against Palestinians. So this is now a well-known fact. But just to show you, the inconsistency here on Facebook's part. But the other main issue, how the hell is the military included under hate speech? I get, the national part of it. Oh, they're Russian military. So I guess that means it's hate speech because you're targeting Russians. But you're not targeting Russians. You're targeting an invading force. That should be fine in any context. Why is this even, being discussed as a loosening of hate speech rules? The military should never have been included under hate speech rules. But so I'm going to show you two things here. I'm going to show you Facebook's hate speech rules, which, as I show you, are partially ridiculous. And then I'll show you Canada's hate speech laws, which are very clear and I'd say make a lot more sense. But so Facebook here on their page, they write, "We define hate speech as a direct attack against people rather than concepts or institutions on the basis of what we call protected characteristics: race, ethnicity, national origin, disability, religious affiliation, caste, sexual orientation, sex, gender identity, and serious disease." All right, so this so far makes sense. But then later on, they write this: "Similarly, we provide some protections for characteristics like occupation when they are referenced along with a protected characteristic." Which This is why they are so-called loosening their hate speech laws, because they include occupation under hate speech. So Russian soldier, hate speech directed towards a Russian soldier, I guess counts as hate speech for Facebook, even though that's absurd. You have to be able to separate soldier from their nationality. If this, so in my opinion on this, it doesn't matter the invasion. You should be allowed to, hate a military that is invading a country. That should be fine, regardless of the situation. But I don't know why they have included here soldier or, occupation under hate speech. So to show you Canada's hate speech laws, they say here, everyone who, by communicating statements in any public place, incites hatred against any identifiable group, more on that in a second, where such incitement is likely to lead to a breach of the peace. So they're very clear about what counts as hate speech. Distinguished by color, race, religion, national or ethnic origin. Again, if it's about Russian civilians, the Russian people, yes, that is hate speech. That is wrong. Facebook should not be allowing that if they are allowing that, but it doesn't appear they're allowing that based on how this is being reported. But if they are allowing hate speech directed towards Russians generally, that's absurd and should not be allowed. But going on here, age, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, or expression, or mental or physical disability. There, of course, is no occupation in Canada's hate speech laws because that is absurd. Why would you include occupation under hate speech? But Facebook does, which is why this counts as them loosening their hate speech restrictions. So this whole thing is stupid. Basically, that's my takeaway. This whole thing is dumb. They should open it up completely. If you are, hating on a military that is hurting people, that should be okay. Why is that controversial? That is not controversial. But you can't have Facebook picking and choosing which invasions they like, which ones they don't. If you are going to allow this kind of what they call hate speech, if you're going to allow that against certain military, you have to allow that against all military. It is an occupation. It is not a protected class of citizen. It is very different than actual hate speech.